Hey everyone, I'm Jake, and today I want to share a deeply personal story about love, betrayal, and ultimately finding hope again. You know, when I think back to my marriage with Lisa, I always believed in the idea of loyalty. I thought that bad women should face the consequences of their actions, and I had this unwavering belief that loyal women truly exist. I held on to the dream of a life filled with happiness, believing that no matter what, we could weather any storm together. But then, life threw me a curveball that shook the very foundation of those beliefs. I had always thought, my Lisa would never do that. I was so sure of her loyalty that it felt unthinkable. The idea of infidelity seemed like something that happened to other people, not to us. I was living in my own bubble of trust and love, convinced that our relationship was rock solid. But then, one day, I learned that everything I believed was about to be challenged in a way I never saw coming. I heard whispers from a neighbor that Lisa was involved with someone else, a man with more money than I could ever dream of having. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Suddenly, my world was filled with doubts and suspicions, and I couldn't help but question everything. Could it be true? Had the woman I loved betrayed me? I found myself grappling with the harsh reality that sometimes the people we trust the most can hurt us the deepest. I was faced with an emotional storm, one that left me feeling vulnerable and lost, and I knew that if I didn't confront this head-on, it would consume me. So here I am, ready to take you through this journey with me. I want to share how I navigated through the chaos of heartbreak and confusion, and how, in the midst of despair, I found a glimmer of hope. Join me as I recount the twists and turns of my story, because I believe it's a journey that many of you might resonate with, whether you've faced betrayal or just long for the security of true love. Let's dive in. It was an ordinary afternoon when everything changed. I was at home, going through my usual routine, when my neighbor, Tom, knocked on my door. He had a serious look on his face, and I immediately sensed something was off. As he stepped inside, I noticed he was hesitant, almost reluctant to speak. "Hey, Jake, can we talk?" he said, his voice low and cautious. My heart started to race as he took a deep breath, and I braced myself for whatever was coming. Tom told me he'd seen Lisa out and about with another man, someone I didn't know. My mind raced as I tried to process what he was saying. Surely this had to be a misunderstanding. Lisa had always been the one person I could count on. We had built a life together based on trust, and it felt impossible that she would betray me like this. As Tom continued to speak, all I could think about was the life we had built, the memories we cherished. How could she throw it all away? I felt a knot tightening in my stomach, a sickening realization dawning on me. My world, which had seemed so solid, was beginning to crack. I was flooded with emotions, anger, confusion, disbelief. It was surreal to think that the woman I loved was out with another man, living a life that didn't include me. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but all I could manage was a weak, "Are you sure?" Tom nodded, his expression grim. "I wish I weren't," he replied softly. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. I had always thought of Lisa as my partner, my confidant. The thought of her being with someone else shattered my beliefs about loyalty and love. After Tom left, I sat in silence, trying to wrap my head around this new reality. I kept telling myself that there had to be an explanation, something that could make sense of this chaos. But deep down, a voice whispered that maybe the truth was more painful than I wanted to believe. How could I ever confront Lisa about this? And what if it was true? As the evening dragged on, I felt a storm brewing inside me, and I knew that I had to confront this head-on. But for now, I was left with nothing but questions, doubt, and an aching sense of betrayal. After that day, I found myself in a whirlwind of emotions. I kept replaying Tom's words in my mind, trying to convince myself that it was all a mistake. My heart wanted to believe in Lisa's innocence, but my gut was telling me otherwise. I was caught in a battle between hope and despair, each day feeling like an eternity. I kept telling myself she wouldn't do this to me. But as the days turned into nights, the weight of uncertainty began to crush me. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was consumed by this dark cloud of doubt. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would race, expecting a message from her, a sign that everything was okay. But those messages never came, and I was left with an empty silence that echoed my fears. Every glance at Lisa felt like a lie. I began analyzing her every move, searching for signs of guilt or betrayal. Was that a nervous laugh? Did her smile seem forced? I was becoming a detective in my own home, but every clue I found only led me deeper into confusion. I started questioning everything about our life together, from the little inside jokes to the dreams we shared. I remember sitting on the couch, watching TV, but not really seeing anything. I felt like I was living in a fog, unable to escape the thoughts swirling in my head. It was maddening. I wanted to talk to her, to ask her directly if what I heard was true, but fear gripped me. What if I was wrong? What if I confronted her and it turned out to be nothing? The idea of causing a rift in our relationship terrified me, yet the thought of being blindsided by the truth felt even worse. In my heart, I knew I needed to face it. I had to know what was going on. But as I wrestled with this decision, I was terrified of what the truth could mean for us. I had built my entire life around the belief that we were a team, partners in everything. Now, I was questioning if that was ever really the case. As the days dragged on, I felt myself slipping into a dark place, struggling to find my footing. The truth was out there, lurking in the shadows, and I had to decide whether I was brave enough to confront it or if I would continue living in this painful limbo. As the reality of Lisa's potential betrayal sank in, I began to feel like I was unraveling. I had always thought of myself as a good husband, someone who was supportive, loving, and committed. But suddenly, I found myself questioning everything about who I was. Each day, I looked in the mirror and saw a man who felt diminished, stripped of the confidence I once carried. I felt like a shell of my former self, haunted by insecurities that crept in like shadows. Was I not enough for her? Did I lack the charm, the wealth, or the status that made me worthy of her love? I couldn't shake off the feeling that I had somehow failed, not just as a husband, but as a man. The whispers of doubt began to echo in my mind. I thought about our life together, the moments we had shared, the dreams we had built. How could Lisa betray everything we had? I felt like a fool, believing in our love, while she was out seeking affection from someone else. It was as if my heart was screaming that I wasn't worthy of love, that maybe I had missed all the signs of her discontent. I began isolating myself from friends, fearing their judgment or pity. I avoided social gatherings because I couldn't face the questions or the looks of concern. The thought of being around happy couples, of seeing the love I once had, felt unbearable. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of inadequacy, and the harder I fought to stay afloat, the deeper I sank. It was a struggle to keep my head up. I started to withdraw into myself, doubting not just my marriage, but my entire identity. The jokes I once made felt hollow, and the laughter I shared with friends seemed distant. I was trapped in a cycle of self-loathing, and every negative thought only reinforced my pain. But deep down, a flicker of resilience remained. I realized that I had to confront these feelings, not just for the sake of my relationship, but for my own well-being. I couldn't allow someone else's choices to dictate my self-worth. The road ahead felt daunting, but I knew I had to fight through this turmoil to reclaim my sense of self. The impact on my self-esteem was real, but so was the desire to rise above it. It was time to take control of my narrative and find a way to heal, even if it felt impossible right now. The day had finally come. I could no longer live in the limbo of uncertainty. I had to confront Lisa about what I had heard. As I stood in our living room, my heart raced and my palms felt clammy. I replayed the conversation in my head over and over, trying to anticipate her reaction, trying to find the right words, but nothing felt adequate for the gravity of this moment. When Lisa walked in, she was smiling, seemingly carefree. For a split second, I almost lost my nerve. How could I ruin this moment? But then I reminded myself of the storm brewing inside me. I couldn't ignore the nagging doubts any longer. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding, as I summoned the courage to speak. "Lisa, can we talk?" I said, my voice wavering slightly. She looked at me, her smile fading, and I could see the concern wash over her face. "I heard something that I need to ask you about." The moment the words left my mouth, I felt a mix of relief and dread. I was finally addressing the elephant in the room, but I also knew that the response could shatter everything I had left. I watched her expression shift, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. "Jake, what do you mean?" she replied, her tone laced with confusion. I felt a wave of emotion crash over me as I laid it all out, telling her about what Tom had said, the affair, the other man. I was raw, vulnerable, and exposed, and I had never felt more afraid in my life. For a moment, silence enveloped us. I watched her face, searching for any hint of guilt or denial. Finally, she took a deep breath and said, "You don't understand. It's not what you think." Her words felt like ice water pouring over my heart. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth, but I could only muster the strength to ask, "Then what is it?" Lisa started to explain, but I barely heard her over the pounding of my heart. I felt my emotions boiling over: hurt, anger, disbelief. I wanted to tell her how betrayed I felt, how her actions had left me questioning everything I thought I knew about our love. But I was caught in this whirlwind of confusion, grappling with the possibility that everything could change in an instant. As she spoke, I could see the fear in her eyes, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of empathy for her. But it was quickly overshadowed by the reality of my own pain. I realized that this confrontation wasn't just about her. It was about me reclaiming my voice, my power in this situation. In that moment, I understood that I had to stand firm, to demand the honesty and respect I deserved. I may have been hurt, but I wasn't going to let her lies define me any longer. The truth needed to come out, and I was ready to face whatever it revealed. As Lisa continued to explain her side, I felt a whirlwind of emotions crashing over me like waves in a storm. I wanted to hear her words, to understand her reasoning, but all I could focus on was the suffocating weight of heartbreak. The realization that the woman I loved had been living a double life shattered my heart into a million pieces. I remember staring at her, struggling to process the reality unfolding before me. My chest felt tight, and each breath came with a sharp sting. It was as if the very air in the room had turned toxic, filled with all the unspoken words and broken promises. I could hear the tremor in her voice, see the glistening tears in her eyes, but none of it mattered in that moment. I felt utterly alone, trapped in my own grief while she sought forgiveness. Memories flashed through my mind like a movie reel. Our wedding day, the laughter we shared, the dreams we built together. How could she throw it all away? The warmth of those moments felt so distant now, replaced by a cold void. I was filled with a sense of betrayal so profound that it threatened to consume me entirely. Every fiber of my being screamed for clarity, for an explanation that would make sense of the chaos. I felt like a raw nerve, exposed and aching. Anger surged through me, battling with an overwhelming sadness. How could I have been so blind? It was maddening to think that while I was pouring my heart into our marriage, she was seeking solace in someone else's arms. The emotional turmoil felt relentless. I wanted to shout, to cry, to demand answers, but all I could manage were silent tears. The heartbreak settled deep within me, heavy and suffocating. I wanted to rewind time, to find a moment where everything was still okay, where I could protect myself from this pain. But I knew that was impossible. In the midst of this storm, I felt an unfamiliar rage bubbling up, a desire for justice. How could she do this to me? To us? I felt like a victim of her choices, and the world around me began to blur as I grappled with the reality that the person I had trusted the most was now the source of my greatest pain. As I left that conversation, I was filled with uncertainty about what the future held. The love I once thought was unbreakable was now in tatters, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was teetering on the edge of an emotional abyss. Would I ever find my way back from this heartbreak? The questions loomed large in my mind, and all I could do was take it one moment at a time, trying to navigate the wreckage of my heart. After that harrowing confrontation, I was left in a state of limbo, haunted by the question, should I stay or should I leave? Each day felt like an emotional battleground, filled with conflicting thoughts and feelings. On one hand, there was a part of me that longed to hold on to what we had, the good memories, the love we once shared. I thought about all the years we had invested in each other, the life we had built together. Could I really just walk away from that? But on the other hand, the betrayal cut deep, and I couldn't ignore the reality of what Lisa had done. It was impossible to shake off the image of her with someone else, laughing and sharing moments that should have been ours. The thought of continuing in a relationship where trust had been shattered felt unbearable. I wondered if I could ever truly forgive her, if I could ever look at her the same way again. I spent countless nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with my thoughts. I sought comfort in routine, yet nothing felt normal anymore. I found myself replaying every moment leading up to this point, searching for signs that I had missed. I thought about our arguments, our silences. Had there been cracks in our foundation all along? As I confided in a few close friends, I heard a range of opinions. Some urged me to leave, insisting that I deserved better. Others reminded me of the good times, the love we had once shared, encouraging me to fight for my marriage. It was overwhelming to hear so many perspectives, and I felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. Ultimately, I realized that this was a decision I had to make for myself. I took long walks to clear my mind, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. Each step felt heavy as I weighed the pros and cons of our life together. I remembered the times when Lisa had been my rock, my confidant, and I couldn't help but wonder if those moments were enough to warrant another chance. But could love truly survive betrayal? One evening, sitting alone at the kitchen table, I finally allowed myself to confront the reality of my situation. I closed my eyes and envisioned what life would look like if I stayed, filled with uncertainty, mistrust, and constant reminders of her betrayal. Then I imagined what it would be like to leave, to break free from the pain, but also from the love that still lingered in my heart. The decision weighed heavily on me, and I realized that I was standing at a crossroads. No matter what I chose, it would change my life forever. As I mulled over my options, I knew I had to listen to my heart. But the question remained, was I strong enough to let go, or would I choose to fight for the love I once cherished? In the midst of my emotional turmoil, I realized I couldn't navigate this storm alone. I had been carrying the weight of my pain in silence, and it was becoming unbearable. It was time to reach out for support, to connect with others who could help me make sense of my feelings. I needed a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this fight. I started by confiding in my closest friends, those I knew would listen without judgment. I sat down with Mark, a friend I had known for years, and poured out my heart. As I shared the painful details of my confrontation with Lisa and the aftermath of discovering her affair, I could see the concern in his eyes. He didn't sugarcoat it. He told me how unfair it was for me to go through this, and his empathy felt like a warm blanket on a cold night. Listening to him made me realize how crucial it was to have someone who understood my pain. Mark encouraged me to express my emotions, whether it was through talking, writing, or even just taking time for myself. I had spent so long trying to appear strong, but I needed to acknowledge that it was okay to feel vulnerable. The more I talked, the lighter I felt, as if each word was lifting a weight off my shoulders. I also turned to my family for support. My sister Jenna had always been my confidant, and I knew she would offer a listening ear. When I visited her, I found myself opening up about everything: the confusion, the heartbreak, the decisions I was grappling with. She listened patiently and shared her own experiences of love and loss, reminding me that heartbreak was a universal struggle, something that many people go through. Her words made me feel less isolated and more understood. But it wasn't just my friends and family who played a role in my healing. I began attending a support group for men dealing with relationship issues. It was a brave step, but once I sat in that circle and listened to the stories of others, I realized how healing it could be to share my own. Each person had their own battles, their own heartbreaks, but we all shared a common thread: the desire for understanding and healing. Hearing their experiences made me feel like I was part of something bigger, a community of men who had faced similar challenges. As I navigated this path, I discovered that seeking support didn't mean I was weak. It meant I was strong enough to acknowledge my pain and take steps toward healing. With every conversation, every shared experience, I began to rebuild my sense of self-worth. I was no longer just a victim of betrayal. I was a man reclaiming his power, determined to find clarity and strength in the chaos. Through this process, I learned that vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a path to resilience. I began to see that it was okay to lean on others and accept help, and I started to feel the first glimmers of hope amidst the darkness. As the days turned into weeks, I began to recognize a shift within myself. The whirlwind of emotions that had once consumed me slowly transformed into a quiet determination. I realized that healing wouldn't happen overnight, but I was ready to embark on this journey of self-discovery and resilience. I had started to find my footing again, even amidst the heartache. With the support of my friends, family, and the support group, I began to confront my pain head-on. I adopted new routines that focused on self-care, regular exercise, journaling my thoughts, and exploring new hobbies that sparked joy. I found solace in running. It became my escape, a way to clear my mind and release the pent-up energy of my turmoil. Each mile felt like a step toward reclaiming my strength, both physically and emotionally. During this process, I also started reflecting on what I truly wanted for my life. I realized that I had been so focused on Lisa and our relationship that I had neglected my own needs and dreams. It was time to reconnect with who I was outside of our marriage. I started revisiting old passions, like painting and cooking, that had fallen by the wayside over the years. Engaging in these activities brought a sense of fulfillment I hadn't felt in a long time, reminding me of the joy that existed within me beyond the pain. Therapy became another crucial element of my healing. Talking to a professional provided me with valuable tools to process my feelings and navigate the complexities of my emotions. I learned how to set boundaries, how to communicate my needs, and most importantly, how to forgive myself for the pain I had endured. With each session, I peeled back the layers of hurt and disappointment, slowly revealing a more resilient version of myself. I also took time to reflect on the lessons I had learned through this heart-wrenching experience. I recognized that my worth wasn't defined by someone else's choices. I was a man of value, deserving of love, trust, and happiness. I began to cultivate a sense of compassion for myself, understanding that healing was a journey with ups and downs, and it was okay to take it one step at a time. As I embraced this newfound strength, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I was no longer a victim of my circumstances. I was a survivor, ready to face whatever came next. I understood that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was no longer afraid of it. I had weathered the storm, and now I was ready to step into the light. With each passing day, I felt lighter, freer, and more in tune with myself. I was beginning to see that my heart could heal, and I could find happiness again. This realization filled me with hope, a hope that hinted at the possibility of new love and the chance to embrace life fully once more. As I continued to heal, I found myself gradually opening up to the idea of love again. It felt strange, almost foreign, to think about dating after the pain I had endured. But I also recognized that life was too precious to let fear hold me back. I wanted to embrace the possibility of new connections, to experience the joy of companionship once more. One evening, I decided to attend a local art gallery opening. It was an event I had initially considered skipping, but something pushed me to go. Perhaps it was the desire to surround myself with creativity or the hope of meeting new people. As I wandered through the vibrant displays, I felt a renewed sense of excitement. The atmosphere was electric, filled with laughter and the chatter of art enthusiasts. That's when I met Sarah. She was standing in front of a stunning piece, her eyes sparkling with passion as she analyzed the artist's technique. I approached her, and we struck up a conversation about the artwork. As we talked, I noticed how effortlessly we connected. Her laughter was infectious, and I found myself opening up to her in a way I hadn't anticipated. In those moments, I felt a flicker of what it was like to be alive again. Sarah was warm and genuine, with an easygoing nature that put me at ease. We spent the evening wandering through the gallery, discussing everything from our favorite artists to our personal journeys. I shared snippets of my past, careful not to dive too deep into the pain just yet, but her understanding demeanor made it easy to relax. As the night went on, I couldn't help but feel a sense of hope blossoming within me. It was exhilarating to laugh and connect with someone new, to share experiences without the weight of my past hanging heavily over us. I found myself drawn to her, captivated by her kindness and the way she genuinely listened. For the first time in a long while, I felt a spark, a sense that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for love again. We exchanged numbers that night, and I walked away with a renewed sense of optimism. As days turned into weeks, our connection deepened. Sarah became a bright spot in my life, someone who encouraged me to embrace joy and authenticity. I found myself looking forward to our conversations and shared experiences, realizing that I was starting to trust again. With her, I felt a sense of ease I hadn't experienced in years. We explored the city together, tried new restaurants, and attended concerts. Each moment felt like a breath of fresh air, reminding me that happiness was still possible. Sarah respected my past and gave me the space to share as much or as little as I wanted. This budding relationship was a beautiful reminder that while my heart had been broken, it was still capable of love. I had taken the brave step of opening my heart again, and with Sarah, I found not just companionship, but a sense of peace I never thought possible. As my relationship with Sarah blossomed, I began to realize that the love I once thought was lost could be found again, albeit in a different form. With each passing day, I felt a deepening connection that brought warmth to my heart, a stark contrast to the coldness I had experienced before. Sarah had a way of making everything feel lighter. She encouraged me to embrace my passions and explore life without the weight of my past holding me back. We spent countless weekends adventuring together, whether it was hiking through nature trails or indulging in cooking classes. Each experience felt like a celebration of life, a chance to rediscover joy and laughter. I found myself smiling more, feeling more alive than I had in years. With Sarah, every moment was an opportunity for connection and growth, and I cherished that immensely. There were times when I hesitated to fully let go of my past. I worried about what would happen if I opened up completely, if I allowed myself to fall in love again. But Sarah never pressured me. She respected my pace and encouraged me to share my feelings when I was ready. This gentle approach fostered a safe space for us to grow together, and I felt empowered to embrace the possibility of a new future. One evening, as we strolled along the waterfront, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and pink, I found myself taking a leap of faith. The beauty of the moment wrapped around us, and I felt the urge to express what had been building inside me. With a soft sigh, I turned to Sarah and said, "I never thought I could feel this way again. You've brought so much light into my life." Her eyes sparkled with understanding, and she took my hand in hers, affirming that she felt the same. In that moment, something shifted within me. I realized that my heart was ready to embrace love again, to fully welcome the happiness that Sarah brought into my life. It wasn't just about moving on. It was about moving forward, carrying the lessons from my past while embracing the beauty of new beginnings. As we continued to build our relationship, I felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey I had taken. The heartbreak had led me to this moment, a moment filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. I learned that true happiness comes not from forgetting the past, but from integrating it into who we are and allowing it to shape our future. With Sarah by my side, I felt not just love, but a sense of peace I had never thought possible. She became my partner, my confidant, and my greatest supporter. Together, we crafted a life filled with joy and adventure, built on a foundation of trust and understanding. This new chapter was a testament to resilience, the resilience of my heart and the power of love to heal. I had discovered that happiness was not just a fleeting feeling, but a choice I made each day. And as I looked into Sarah's eyes, I knew that I had found a love that was real and lasting, a love that was worth embracing wholeheartedly. As I reflect on this incredible journey, I realize that life is often a roller coaster of emotions, filled with peaks of joy and valleys of pain. My story is one of heartbreak, but more importantly, it's a story of resilience, growth, and the transformative power of love. The betrayal I faced was a chapter that shook the very foundation of my existence, but it also propelled me toward a deeper understanding of myself and what it means to truly love and be loved. Throughout this process, I learned that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a pathway to strength. By seeking support from friends, family, and even strangers, I discovered that I wasn't alone in my struggles. There are countless men out there, just like me, grappling with heartbreak and seeking a way to heal. Opening up about my experiences allowed me to connect with others, and it reminded me of the importance of community and shared understanding. Finding Sarah marked a pivotal turning point in my life. She taught me that it's possible to love again, to rebuild trust, and to embrace happiness after heartache. With her, I discovered that love isn't a finite resource. It can grow and evolve, bringing new joy even after pain. Our relationship is built on mutual respect and understanding, proving that true connection can flourish from the ashes of past wounds. To anyone watching who might be feeling lost, heartbroken, or unsure about the future, I want to remind you it's okay to grieve the past, but don't forget to make space for new beginnings. Healing is not linear. It's a process filled with ups and downs. Allow yourself the grace to feel, to explore, and to seek the support you need. Remember that it's never too late to rewrite your story, to open your heart to new experiences, and to embrace the beauty of life. In the end, I learned that love is not just about finding the right person. It's also about becoming the right person, someone who values himself, who recognizes his worth, and who is ready to build a life filled with passion and joy. Every heartbreak is an opportunity to grow, and every challenge is a chance to discover who we truly are. So here I am, standing at the threshold of a bright new chapter, grateful for the lessons learned and the love found. I'm ready to embrace whatever life has in store, knowing that I have the strength to face it all. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I hope my story inspires you to find your own path to healing, love, and happiness.